Welcome back. For today's Business Matters, we have Don Ma here with us. Don, how you doing?
Doing well. How about you guys?
Yeah,
Doing pretty good.
Yeah. What do you got for us today?
All right, so let me just start off. Oil prices rose today over concerns about the conflict in the Middle East and new stimulus from the Chinese regime. Meanwhile, another hurricane is threatening U.S. supply. And OPEC producer Iran is edging closer to conflict with Israel in support of the terrorist group Hezbollah. And the latest escalation in Israel and Lebanon is stoking fears of a broader war in the region. U.S. oil producers had to evacuate staff from rigs in the Gulf of Mexico. A second predicted hurricane in 2 weeks caused several oil companies to pause some production as well. Now, Visa is facing an antitrust lawsuit. The Department of Justice alleges that the financial giant uses its size and dominance to stifle competition in the credit card market. So the complaint says Visa penalizes merchants and banks that don't use its payment processing technology. There are other options, but Visa collects a fee for every transaction. So the U.S. Attorney General says he believes the fees far exceed what Visa could charge in a competitive market, and those costs are passed to consumers. Visa didn't immediately respond to the allegations. And the Commerce Department has finalized a nearly $125 million grant for Polar Semiconductor to expand its Minnesota plant. This will be almost double its production and power sensor chips. It's the first award under the Biden administration's over $50 billion semiconductor subsidy program. Funds will be distributed as Polar hits project milestones. Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo says the expansion will boost output from 20,000 to 40,000 semiconductor wafers per month. And the production will be used for aerospace, automotive, and defense sectors. Minnesota is also contributing $75 million to the $525 million project. Meanwhile, the Labor Department has reached out to the U.S. Maritime Alliance ahead of a possible October 1st port strike. The International Longshoremen's Association is threatening a walkout on the East Coast and Gulf of Mexico. Their existing contract covers 45,000 workers at 36 ports and expires September 30th. The Maritime Alliance said it's been unable to schedule a meeting with the ILA. The union disputes that and says the two sides have communicated multiple times in recent weeks. And the ports affected by a potential strike stretch from Maine to Texas. Those locations handle about half of U.S. imports in cities like New York, New Jersey, and Houston. Any cargo backups from work disruptions could cascade through U.S. and global supply chains. And Boeing has issued a new offer to 33,000 machinist union members who have been on strike for 11 days. The revised offer includes an immediate 12% raise and a 30% raise over the 4-year life of the contract. Before the strike began, union members rejected an offer of an immediate 11% raise and 25% over the life of the contract. Another sticking point is retirement benefits. Boeing is offering to increase 401k contribution rates, but union members want the company to bring back its pension. Workers gave that up after the last strike in 2008 when Boeing threatened to move production to non-union plants, and the union has not commented on the new offer just yet. And the administrator of the Federal Aviation Administration told lawmakers today that significant changes are needed to improve quality and safety at the Boeing company. Our Washington correspondent Luis Martinez has more on this story.
During a Transportation and Infrastructure Committee hearing, FAA Administrator Michael Whitaker made it clear that the Boeing company needs to adopt significant changes and that FAA oversight will continue well into the future.
There must be a profound shift in the company's safety culture to holistically address its quality assurance and production challenges. Our goal is to make sure Boeing implements the necessary changes and has the right tools in place to sustain those changes in the long term.
After the door plug incident in Alaska Airlines Flight 1282 on January 5th, the FAA ordered Boeing to develop and implement a comprehensive action plan to, among other things, enhance supplier oversight, enhance employee training and communication, and increase internal audits of production systems.
Since January 5th, we have added more safety inspectors at Boeing and Spirit facilities, and we will maintain our increased on-site presence. Our oversight activities include more direct engagement with company employees, additional inspections at critical points of the production process, and increased auditing of quality systems and build processes.
Additionally, the leadership of the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers rejected this week the latest labor contract offer from the Boeing company. The Boeing company increased its original offer from 25 to 30% wage increase, but workers are demanding a 40% increase. Over 33,000 workers have been on strike since September 13th.
This is about respect. This is about addressing the past, and this is about fighting for our future. Our members rejected the contract by 94.6%. And they voted to strike by 96%.
It's important to note that the labor strike has halted entirely the production of 737s, 777, and 767 aircrafts of the Boeing company. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Luis Eduardo Martinez, NTD News.
And sentencing is set today for the ex-girlfriend of disgraced FTC founder Sam Bankman-Fried. The former billionaire is serving 25 years in prison for stealing $8 billion from customers of his bankrupt cryptocurrency exchange. Now, former cryptocurrency executive Caroline Ellison will learn her fate. She pleaded guilty to 7 felony counts of fraud and conspiracy for her role, and she testified as a witness for the prosecution in the trial against Bankman-Fried. For her cooperation, her lawyers have argued she should get no prison time, and various legal experts anticipate no time behind bars. And major pharmacy benefit managers have agreed to expand coverage for Novo Nordisk diabetes and weight loss medications if the company lowers their list prices. Senator Bernie Sanders made the announcement today. Sanders said he received written commitments during his opening remarks at a Senate committee hearing. The hearing was on why Novo Nordisk charges Americans more for life-saving drugs than in other countries. This counters a common argument by pharmaceutical companies that lowering drug prices will lead to narrower coverage. They argue that pharmacy middlemen prefer expensive drugs because of the larger rebates. Sanders also criticized Novo Nordisk's CEO for the high prices of Ozempic and Wegovy. Those can cost Americans over $1,000 a month. Now, China has made its boldest move yet, and this is to revive its economy and ailing housing market. The People's Bank of China has cut short-term interest rates and rates on existing mortgages. That is on top of reducing down payment minimums for property purchases. And state-controlled banks can cut their reserve assets to free up money that can be lent out. Many experts said the support measures were welcomed, but warned that they will likely not be enough on their own to turn around China's economic slump. Governor of the central bank, Pan Gongsheng, said more easing is planned before the end of the year. Staying on China, the country is showing that it will not stand for a boycott of products from Xinjiang. China's Commerce Ministry has launched an investigation into American fashion firm PVH. This is the parent company of Calvin Klein and Tommy Hilfiger. The probe is over suspected violations of trade rules. Like other Western governments, Washington has blocked some imports from Xinjiang over evidence of forced labor in the region. That's where China's ruling Communist Party is accused of holding members, mostly Muslim ethnic groups, in detention camps. China denies any abuse. PVH said it maintains strict compliance with all relevant laws and regulations in all countries and regions in which it operates. Now, safety and user privacy updates announced for messaging platform Telegram. The app has more than 950 million users who are drawn to its encryption technology and user privacy. Telegram's founder and CEO Pavel Durov is under investigation in France over suspected criminal activity on the platform. He was arrested and currently out on bail. Telegram is now making some changes to reduce criminal activity on the platform. In its updated terms of service and privacy policy, Telegram said it will hand over IP addresses and phone numbers of users who violate rules in response to valid legal requests. User data shared with law enforcement will appear in quarterly transparency reports. Russia's economy is moving forward despite being the target of the most sanctions in human history. Here's more details on that.
Despite a controversial war, occasional drone attacks, and being the most sanctioned country in all human history, Russia's economy is performing surprisingly well, according to analysts.
Things are just business as usual. You will hardly understand, even more so than Ukraine, that there is anything unusual happening at all.
Economist Dimitrios Flautas was in Russia last month. He says prices are a bit high, but nightclubs, restaurants, and businesses are all open. He says it seems life is going on as if normal.
Moscow had been preparing for years to endure external financial pressure. Most of the growth is now is coming from the war industries that have been rejuvenated.
The International Monetary Fund predicts Russia's economy will grow at 3.2% this year. It's enhanced its trade network, especially with oil sales to China, and it's replaced the businesses that left with its own.
I was very surprised at is how quickly anything was rebuilt. So taking an example of McDonald's, in terms of making sure that the people, as long as they don't travel outside, they have all this opportunity inside to continue living without distraction.
Alina Timofeeva is a Russian national currently living in the UK. She says her connections in Russia are living life as usual, but
there are many long-term costs. First, Russia is running out of reserves. The reserves it has should end sometime next year.
Economist Anders Asland has been banned from entering Russia because he has criticized the country. He says the economy will be in trouble when the government cuts public expenditures. Also,
they're running out of people. People are running away from Russia. Russia has minimal unemployment. And if Putin would mobilize, another million or so would run away.
Russia has a population of around 141 million, down from 147 million back in 2020. The U.S. predicts the population will continue falling.
So it looks like Americans have been putting it on plastic, and it's adding up. Credit card debt in the U.S. has reached more than $1 trillion. This is a record high, by the way. Now, this is based on the data from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. Experian data from this time last year showed that the average American had about $6,500 in credit debt, with an average credit card interest rate around 21.5%. Reported in May, monthly interest rate payments are more than $100. So down on Wall Street, all smiles down today again, and the S&P posting another record high. It's up 0.25% today. The Dow Jones is up 80 points or 0.2%, and NASDAQ up 100 points over 0.5%. Nvidia around 4% today, and that's all the stories happening today in Business Matters. Carrie, Fiona?
Thanks, Don. That story on credit card debt's a bit disconcerting.
Yeah, it's worrying. You know, not only does it reflect consumer spending habits, potentially it may also reflect on overall pressures within the economy, right? With inflation rising over the past couple of years, maybe people are feeling the pinch and turning to credit cards for everyday essentials.
And I think it's important to educate younger people out there just starting to, get credit cards, start paying their fees and whatnot. Educate them on how to use these credit cards properly, because they're not just a magical money provider.
Indeed, yeah, the credit cards certainly entice people with those 0% offers to get them on board, but those introductory rates come due pretty quickly, so something to keep an eye on.
Debt always comes due.
Yep.
Thanks, Don. We'll see you back tomorrow.
Thank you.